Computer. Okay, so welcome to Men Matter Scotland's podcast. This is episode 13, I believe. My name's Peter. I'm the chairperson of Men Matter Scotland. If you need to get in contact with us, you can contact us on Facebook. You can contact us on Twitter. So Twitter is at Men Scotland. Facebook is Men Matter Scotland. We have a playlist of cracking songs guys have suggested that have got them through some tough times. On Spotify, just type in Men Matter Scotland, and that's where you'll come across our podcast as well. All right, we're also on SoundCloud, iTunes, and all the other podcast places. Today we've got a cracking guy with who's got a story to tell, and I'm really excited to hear the story and have a good wee conversation. So, Stephen, can you introduce yourself, mate?
My name's Stephen McGoldrick. I'm 49-year-old, married with 2 kids, 2 grandkids. Currently run a DJ business and a drone business. And that's me.
Okay, cheers, mate. So, Stephen, we're just going to get right into the story, mate, and just have a chat about you, and we can share about your experiences, and from that, hopefully people watching can maybe associate themselves with your experiences, recognise themselves in your experiences, and maybe reach out and get some support, which has already happened this week through somebody watching a podcast. They've reached out because they recognise themselves in somebody else's story and they want help. So hopefully that can happen with this one as well, and hopefully you can get a bit of closure or a bit of, I don't know, just ownership of what's happened to you in your life, mate, all right?
Yeah.
Right, big man. So we're going to start just where you grew up and what was life like growing up for you, Stephen?
So I was born and bred in Ballanark, next to Easterhouse. I've got a sister and 2 brothers, and that was back in the day when Ballanark was run by the gangs, you know what I mean, all the big heavies that were all kind of running about. And my dad was involved in some way in that, so basically any time kind of when I was a young boy, say I got into a fight or something, I was told to batter the living daylights out of that boy. Not just a doing, like a real doing. And if I didn't do it, my dad would batter me. That's the kind of the way that I grew up. So I think I was 8-year-old, and then we moved to Garrett Hill. It's a kind of posh park, supposedly next to Mount Welland. And I get in with a kind of wee gang then, but all these guys were actually totally brand new. So I decided that I was going to be brand new.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't interested in fighting and stuff like that. But back in those days, you had the Ballanark gang, you had the Bailison gang who battled hell at each other. A few deaths and stuff like that, you know what I mean? It was the kid on stuff. But I wasn't one to be involved in that. So fast forward until I was about 12. Used to get regular doings off my dad for simple things. When you'd done something bad, the belt came out, you know what I mean, the steel bit of the belt, which was fun. What that did to me, but it took every emotion that I had and destroyed it. The way that my brain works is I'm quite a sensitive wee soul, or I was a sensitive wee soul. But you weren't allowed to have emotions in my family. No emotions whatsoever. And that's probably the start of when my life went downhill. So that kind of takes me up to about 12-year-old, you know what I mean? My mum was always drunk, my dad was always barmy, or he was doing some dodgy people coming to the house.
Do you have any siblings, Stephen?
Sorry?
Do you have any siblings?
Yep, I've got a wee sister, and a wee brother, and I've got an older big brother.
Right.
But my older big brother is disabled.
Okay.
I used to be in a wheelchair, and back where I grew up, you get slagged for being handicapped, you get all the names under the sun.
Yeah.
So I had to fight for them. I get many a doings because I was going ahead with people twice my size, but I done it because it was my brother. So it was hard to kind of almost not so much look after him, but fucking nobody else did. So
Yeah. Still hear you, mate.
my brother, but never really connected with my wee brother or my wee sister. As I'll speak about later on, you'll kind of understand why. So that's the beginning part of my life.
Mm-hmm. And see your siblings, were they on the receiving end of the beatings your dad gave you, mate? Or was it just you?
Yeah, Brett.
I'm breaking up. Mate, 2 secs, mate. 2 secs. I'm going to bounce in that room, mate, because there's a connection shocking for me, mate. Aye. There's a much better connection here, Stephen.
Right.
And it's better, I can see it's better already, mate, actually. Mate. Right, man, that's better. Sounds better as well. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's
The age where he was asking questions and that. He went there one night he just went to walk there to see his granddad. And I think the first thing he said was, "What are you doing here, you wee arsehole?" So that was the end of that conversation. A few years later, I think they made contact again. Well, I basically said to my kids, "You're more than welcome to go see your nan and granddad.
Yeah.
No stopping you, no whatever." But they didn't want. My ma wanted the contact, but betting my life on that it was my dad who stopped my ma seeing the grandmans.
So this is came from a stag do where a member of the other side's family instigated trouble with you.
Yep.
And you've reacted because he was being offensive about your big brother. And you get disowned and the contact with kids is scrapped and
Yep.
mate, that's bizarre, man. That is bizarre.
That's just the start of my horrible life, you know what I mean? It's just another part of the shitty life that I've had.
So, Stephen, see when this is happening, right? We'll go back a bit to when you're younger. When this is happening, and you're at school, is anybody noticing that you're coming in with bruises on you? You're being mistreated? Is any teachers noticing? Was any other adults involved in your life to help you?
No, I went to St Ambrose High School. Before that, I was in St Francis Primary School, and that was back in the days where there was still nuns in classes and stuff like that. And being hit was actually normal, you know what I mean? Nuns used to throw chalk dusters at you and bounce them off your nut if you weren't behaving.
Aye.
When I got to secondary though, things changed a wee bit. It was a hard school I went to. The belt and the cane was still. I don't know if you remember. You wouldn't remember the cane. No.
Nah, mate. There's
The
not much
cane
year.
was-
There's about 10 years between us as well, Stephen.
The cane was a long bamboo stick, rock hard, and you were smacked senseless with it. And it was within the law to do it, but then they changed it to the belt. We had a headmaster who used to actually turn the belt. They were meant to do you with the soft bit of the belt, but he would turn it around and hit you with the buckle. So whether they seen bruises or no, wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
Child protection was not a big thing back in the 70s and 80s.
It's mad how normal violence was for disciplining children back in the days, wasn't it?
Oh,
It's not even that long ago, mate. It's not that long ago.
Loads of violence. We used to fight with other schools and stuff like that. People were getting stabbed. Police were called, but it was just dealt with, and then the people were back in school the next day. You know what I mean? That was just normal back then. But in school, I was kind of bullied a bit. Because same again, I'll kind of keep saying this throughout the interview. I was a sensitive wee soul, but I had to hide it.
Yeah.
Had to be this wee hard man, you know what I mean? Several times I got sent home from school for a fight, and my dad would say, "Oh, did you win or did you lose?" and all the rest of it. And if I said I lost, then bang. Got to the stage, actually, I was 14, and this guy bullied me in Garrett Hill. He was about 17, he was a lot bigger than all the rest of it. And one day, I came in and I had a sore face, and the black eye, stuff like that. Guy got to me. And my dad says, if I didn't go out and smash this boy's face in, he was going to do it to me. So, unfortunately, I went out and mauled this guy's face until my horns stopped working. So proud of it. I'm not justifying it, but he bullied the fucking life out of me.
Aye.
And all I was doing was trying to stop.
You're surviving?
My dad didn't say to me, if I didn't go out and do this.
Yeah.
This boy lost all his teeth. He lost everything. Smashed his jaw. Then, unfortunately, I became the hard man of the place because I done that, which I didn't want. I didn't want that at all. That led into gang fighting and stuff, fighting with the barrel and heavy duty stuff with knives, blades, guns.
See when you're running about doing all this mad stuff, and once you battled that boy, Stephen, do you think that was probably the only time your dad was proud of you?
No, I was not proud of me.
You still no?
No. They just told me to do it.
So do you think that was more about keeping his reputation?
I've thought about this several times in my life. No, not keeping his reputation, but he wasn't able to deal with emotions. It was just stopping me trying to have emotions.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to talk to me like a dad.
Right, okay.
Like, how you feeling, son?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I've never heard that in my entire life. So.
Yeah. See the boy your dad made you beat up, Stephen, have you seen him since?
He did get better. He did get all right and stuff like that, but no.
Have you ever seen there's a program called My Name Is Errol? I don't know if you've seen it before.
Yeah.
It's about a guy who gets sent to jail, and I think one of the things for him to get his parole, we had to go about, and everybody who he'd hurt, he had to apologise to them. He had to apologise for what he had done to them, regardless of what they'd done to him. It's what he'd done to them, and it also almost gave him a closure and a bit of peace that he's tried to make amends for his actions, regardless of what they were. They're all different, and I think it's I don't know, just for a personal level, I think it's something that's important to acknowledge the mistakes you've made in life and apologise for them if it's possible to the people who you've hurt, for their benefit, because I don't doubt for a second that guy still thinks about that moment you two fought in the street and you've battered them. I bet that still goes through his head. Bet it does.
Quite possibly, aye. I know his families, I'm pretty sure they're away because I can't name names, but his wee brother murdered a couple of lasses in Glasgow
Right.
in the late 90s.
Okay.
And it only came out 2 years ago. He's done some horrible stuff, and I think he's maybe killed a few other people. It's in the papers and stuff like that, but I'm not going to name.
No, definitely,
man.
man.
As far as I know, the whole family's moved there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sad, mate. It's sad you were put in that situation. I can remember when I grew up in the 80s and early 90s as a wee guy, and it was a case of because you didn't batter him or you'll get hurt kind of thing, and it's like you're forced to survive in that situation, and in order to stop you from getting a doing, there's only one other thing you can do,
Yeah.
and that's act.
Yeah.
So was it? See, there must have been some adults, Stephen, in your life noticing this stuff happening. There must have been like, was there aunties or uncles or I don't know, grannies and grandads or even like I don't know, man, youth workers or anybody trying to intervene in your life?
No youth clubs where I stayed, and there was nothing you went to. I was an older boy and stuff like that, so there was, I wouldn't call it clubs. You just the priest used to organise like wee day trips and stuff like that. And, no, I've been youth clubs. You go to football and you made a couple of goals with your jumpers and you played football. That was it.
You just made your own entertainment. The rest of that was
No,
gang fighting.
no adult, no family member whatsoever. I can't remember my entire life ever asking me how I was feeling. Don't remember.
So see as shite as that is, Stephen, right? Has that changed your approach as an adult with younger people?
My approach is hugely different.
And has that been influenced by your upbringing? Or do you think that's because deep down you're a sensitive person?
I'd probably say both. I'm a hugely sensitive person. I think about everything. But when my son was born and my daughter was born, no, my approach was totally different. Don't get me wrong, there was good and bad times, blah, 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 but it was certainly nothing like what I had to deal with. None of my wins were hurt, nothing like that at all.
And you kind of one of these dads, because this is how I'm a pure cuddly dad. I always give my Wayne cuddles, give him kisses, show him affection at every opportunity. Because I think it's something kids need to feel is that love at a young age, rather than what we were brought up with. Don't be wrong, my story's completely the opposite of yours, mate, right? But I think it's so important for kids to know quite a lot that they're loved, that you love them, and you value them as wee people and what they bring to your life, how they make you feel. I think it's important. Are you like that?
Unfortunately, no. And that's something I totally regret. No, I think the first time I really cuddled my son, as in deeply, was he tried to commit suicide last week. Tried to jump off a bridge. And I had to stand there for 30 minutes with the motorway cut off and bridges cut off. And once we managed to get him off it and stuff like that, I gave him the biggest hug ever. And that's a shame. But that is simply down to me being very good at hiding my emotions. All my life, I've always had to be the person who deals with things, who sorts things out and gets things done, and people come to me with their problems, and just my problems were just building up and building up. I regret that.
Aye. Have you got a daughter as well, Stephen? Aye.
Yeah, my daughter as well.
Aye. And are you the same with your daughter, like, with the emotional side of it?
We're getting a lot better now. She's got Amy who's doing Les Mahego and stuff like that. She's got a boyfriend, two of them have got cracking jobs, cracking motors. We talk a lot on Facebook and stuff like that because of COVID, and we've been in there all the time recently. I've started to talk to my friends a lot more now, but that's only because men matter and how they've helped me through the first day that I walked in here and met Greg and Fraser.
I'm going to just go back a wee bit. See, when you're a wee guy, Stephen, right, and you're living in that environment you lived in, how did you see the future panning out for you?
I didn't see a future. I wanted to be dead. Going to fast forward a tiny wee bit to when I was 16. So I started going with this lassie who was older. She was 20, I think she was. We were great together. She had a wee wean to somebody else, but I took the role of looking after the wean. I was working, I was on a YTS at the time. Don't know if you remember them, but you get paid £26.50 a week in a bus care. And we got a house, but the house we were in had a coal fire, so I was getting up at 6 in the morning, doing the coal fire, got to my work in the town, coming back, looking after this wee wean at 16. Then she got pregnant. So her family were Protestants, but on a huge scale.
Right, okay.
The dad was a chief inspector, Strathclyde Police. The son was in the SAS. And when they found out that I was Catholic, they went fucking apeshit, man. They finally got us broke up, blah, blah, blah. She didn't want to break up with me, I didn't want to break up with her, but her family were quite powerful at the time, you know what I mean? So this is going to lead on to the hardest bit of my life. We didn't see each other for a while, but I presumed that she was going to have the wean. We're now approaching 28 weeks. And this is when we found out it was a lassie. She's got feet, toes, a heart, lungs, liver, brain, eyes, nose, mouth, ears. Back in the days, the time you could have an abortion, it wasn't like, I don't know what it is now, is it 14 weeks or something, I can't remember what it is. But back then, they found a way to kill my wean and do what's called a D&C on her. So what they did was they put drugs in, blah, 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 killed her, and then scraped her out. Feet, hands, face, at 28 weeks.
Oh my God, man.
This lassie, who I'll no name, she was on the phone to me while they were doing it. And I had to sit upstairs in my house. My mum and dad were downstairs. I had to sit upstairs and go through all that myself. Nobody helped me, nobody there. And I think to get through that at 16-year-old on your own is devastating.
That's horrific, Stephen, man.
I've still not dealt with it this day. How do you deal with something like that, Stephen? That's a thing, man. That's such a trauma. See, I'm at that time as well. I was still a very devout Catholic. You know what I mean? I went to chapel every single week and stuff like that. So it was kind of, you don't deal with it. You can't deal with it. It's impossible. Nothing anybody can say will help you when you're 16-year-old. My dad didn't say, my ma didn't know what to say to me. My dad didn't give a fuck. So I've got a wee place in Kent again Cemetery where I go and talk to my daughter. Been doing that for quite some time now.
Does she have a name, Stephen?
Aye, but I've never tell anybody what her name is. And
okay, that's fine. Okay,
that's just something I'm just keeping to myself.
Aye, yeah.
Not been bad.
No, I respect that, mate. I respect that.
Just that's my wee thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%.
So when I go and talk to her,
Take your time, mate.
I just kind of think her as my wee angel that kind of watches over me.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I need like serious help, I'll drive up to the cemetery and just sit there. This goes on to another thing. My ma had a daughter who died when she was just a few days old. And for some stupid ass reason, I was never told where she was buried. And I only found out 3 years ago where my wee sister was buried. Still to this day, don't know why. But I've always known about her all my life, but nobody ever spoke about her. And even though I didn't know her, didn't meet her, still my wee sister.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd have liked the opportunity to go to her grave and pray for her. But I was never told. It was only after, in fact, it was only after my mum died that I was told where she was buried. She's buried next to my ma's man, dad, in Kent again.
So you had the opportunity to go visit that site now?
I have, I go there all the time. I go there all the time. But I'm 49. I should have been able to go, went there when I was 16, 17, 18.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all my life, I've had to deal with my daughter, my wee sister, and then the banishment from the family. And none of it was my fault. I could probably cope better with my life if I did something bad.
Aye.
You know, like murdered somebody, went to jail for it and came out and nobody talks to me. You know, fair enough.
There's a reason for it then.
Aye. But in my case, it's just bad luck.
It just really seems like there's no justice in what's happened to you. And it must be so hard to live with and to try and even rationalise that.
Balled it up for a long, long time, but that's when the self-harming started. I think I started when I was about 20.
That's what I was wanting to ask you, Stephen, about your coping mechanisms as a young guy. Did you have any positive ones or were there just negative ones to start with?
All negative. Started sniffing glue and stuff like that. Took the pain away for about 2 seconds, but then some come on the telly about self-harming, and I just thought I'd give it a go. So I would maybe start tapping my arm because I'd always have a t-shirt on. Nobody would see it. First one was fucking sore, but I enjoyed it. I felt as if maybe if I'd have committed suicide earlier in life, I wouldn't have been through all this shit. So I called it my punishment. I started self-harming a lot, actually. So, in fact, there was one case. This was after the abortion and stuff like that. I lost the plot. I was in Shettleston, and I found some glass, and I dragged it down my face, my arms, my chest, my legs, my feet. Took my clothes off and just really, really destroyed myself. Went back up to my house, chapped the door, and it was my dad came in the door, slammed the door in my face. So, I ended up in hospital, blah, blah, blah. But back then, there was no kind of mental health. There was nothing for men, boys, whatever, for mental health. I was just a lunatic. I stopped it for a long time, actually. I didn't do it for a while. But over the years, you know what I mean, it's got worse. And I've never done anything about it. Some of the stuff that I've spoken about today, I've held in for 30 years. And I knew that I needed to get it out. I know it's going to be part of my healing strategy. But I've done self-harming quite a lot over my life. Some serious, some not so serious. One time, I was having a conversation with myself, and I told myself to pick a number between 1 and 100. And it was the amount of times I was going to cut myself. And my brain said 77. So, destroyed my leg 77 times that night, one night.
Oh, man.
I could have picked 2. I could have picked 4. I picked 1. But I picked 77.
And that's an indication of where you are in that moment, isn't it? About how you feel your life is in that moment of time.
Aye. It's, as I say, I see it as punishment. I've failed.
Can you elaborate on that a wee bit, Stephen? Just how you think you failed, and why you felt it as a punishment? Well, so why did you think? What did you think you failed at?
I failed my kids for not showing them enough emotion. I love my kids, you know what I mean? And every year we went on holidays and stuff like that. But I never showed them enough emotion. And I am so fucking angry at that. I say we've had our ups and downs, my boys. Tampering with drugs and stuff like that. And done some stuff that he's probably not proud of. I blame myself. My wife's been there thick and thin, you know what I mean? Was it 18 years ago? I used to be in a wheelchair. I had a major stroke when I was quite young. No, I must have been about 25 years. I'm bad with years, but anyway. I had a major stroke and lost my legs, I couldn't pee, couldn't shit properly.
What?
Nappies and stuff like that. I had to learn to walk again.
And what's this came? This came for the self-harming, Stephen? This came for stress or what?
This just came for sheer fucking bad luck.
Right.
Apparently, I had a bruise on my leg. No idea how I got it, but a tiny speck of the blood managed to break off the bruise, got into my brain. Was a hemorrhage and a massive stroke.
Wow, man.
And at that time, I was staying in a flat in Wellhouse. It was a middle flat. So it was quite a thing even to get out. But it was 18 months I spent learning how to walk again. You know what I mean? And same again, coincidence, nothing my fault. I didn't do anything to warrant it. But God decided to, you know what I mean, keep testing me.
So that's an interesting thing. It's just there, isn't there? So you grew up quite strong with Catholicism, Stephen?
Yeah.
And so did it ever cross your mind that God's testing you, right? So this is always cross your mind. Did you ever think God never liked you?
Yep.
Aye. How was that as a devout Catholic?
After the abortion, I told God to go and take a fuck to himself, basically. But I was still a Catholic. I was still going to chapel and stuff.
Yeah.
But over the years, I've lost my faith a lot. How much can you punish somebody? How much punishment is enough?
Mm-hmm.
I can't take much more.
No. Of course, mate. So everything you've been through so far, man, is that's a lifetime worth of stuff for people when you're only in your 20s, Stephen. That's horrendous, mate. So see with the stroke then, so you've made a full recovery for the stroke, eh? Or do you still suffer side effects of that?
No, a little bit of side effect. I don't have much feeling under my right foot.
Right.
But yeah, I can live with that. You know what I mean? Deal with that.
Aye. Right, okay, so you've left school, right? What do you do? What happens when you leave school? Do you go to work? I know we've covered your missus and stuff like that. So what happens between work and the stroke? What's happening in that time period?
Went to work with my dad the very last day. My dad was a spray painter at the time, had his own garage and stuff like that. So went to work for him for £100 a week. Same again, I was just there as a worker. I wasn't there to. In fact, for the first 2 years, I was there to make his coffee on demand wherever he wanted it. But then I learned how to spray, and I ended up quite good at it. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting my own garage and stuff like that. Just anything I've had in my life, I've had to work bloody hard for it. My wife, she's always worked as well, and we just had two kids. My son was just about born, so I had a full life to. I had a lot to do, so I had to put every emotion that I had back in its wee box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if I'd have dealt with it maybe back then maybe things would have been different. But no.
Right, I'm going to just shut that window, mate. It's bucketing the rain, 2 seconds. That's better. So I'm going to come on to something a wee bit that I think you will be proud of, and it's probably some good memories for you, is your youth work, Stephen. How and why did you get into youth work, mate?
This is one thing I remember quite well. I read this one statement to the papers years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. I looked outside my house. I was in Wellhouse at the time, and my boy and lassie were playing Kirby. You know, you throw the ball and hit the curb,
yeah.
But there was motors flying up down the street, and they could have been killed at any time. No youth clubs at the time, no nothing. So I just says, fuck it, I'm going to create my youth club. We need to give the Windsor Wellhouse something today. My first thought was my boy and lassie. I want my boy and lassie to have a club to go to and stuff like that. So the local housing had this unit. We were building a new place called The Hub in Wellhouse. It's a big, massive building. And the housing were moving out. So I used to go to meetings with my pal, James Hagan, and ask people for like 500 quid. Would they help me for 500 quid? And I've been in meetings with councils and stuff like that where they actually laughed at me, told me to get him. Didn't know what I was doing. Even the boss of the housing didn't believe in me. In fact, nobody believed in me. But within 6 months, I had a unit. I had a youth club. I had, one time we had 70 volunteers.
That's incredible, man.
I created the biggest girls' youth club in Glasgow at the time, called Girls Zone. As I said, 70 volunteers came on board. It was just as if, whether the councillors or the fucking housing officer, whether they believed in me or not, Wellhouse believed in me.
Mm-hmm.
The mas and das and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They believed in me, and I didn't know how to fund at the time. I didn't know what a fucking data protection policy was or anything, you know what I mean? I'd to learn off the cuff.
Yeah.
But within a short period of time, we were taking in 400-500 wins a week.
Mm-hmm.
And into the club, we had pool tables, we had computers and stuff like that, but I did a lot of street work as well. And at that time, there was a lot of fighting between Easterhouse and Mullanark, all the gang fighting and stuff. Young boys were losing their lives, and so we were heavily involved in trying to stop that. Nobody had done it before. Frankie Vaughan came in the 60s, you know what I mean, stood up and held the chair, but then he fucked off. But I stuck in, I kept at it. And one of the biggest things that I'm proud of is there's no gang fighting in Wellhouse and Ballanach in East Hull.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been for years.
Yep. And what that shows you is if you're getting the kind of numbers, even if you're getting 10 kids through the door, that shows you there's a demand for these services. And see, again, I'm a youth worker as well, so I've got experience of this, Stephen. And the provisions for that age group is so short. It's almost there's shame on the councils. They should be shamed.
Absolutely.
They should be shamed the lack of provisions for young people, especially with the ages from 12 to 25. They're almost just left to their own devices.
Yeah.
And again, and sometimes it takes a member of the community to stand up and say, hold on, I live here. I know what the needs of this community are. Let's make it happen.
I mean, see, for me, the basic thing with a young gang fighter was, one, they didn't get anybody asking how they were at school or what did they get up to, blah, blah, blah. A lot of the times their man dads really didn't give a toss about what their boy was doing at night time. But me and my youth workers and my volunteers and that, we asked them, look, we are here to help you. We're not going to wait. We're going to be here every single day.
Mm-hmm.
What are you interested in? It didn't happen overnight. They're not going to trust you instantly. But by the end, I still talk to these boys, these men, they're men.
I know.
You know what I mean? With damn
Yeah.
freaking kids. So we've done a lot of good work, you know what I mean? To the point that I was having the Prime Minister visit me, and Gordon, at the time it was Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. And I was telling you the other day, it was just so surreal. We had bomb sniffing dogs going through all my video cases in the club. We had a helicopter gunship floating above our zone. We had snipers in the trees. And we had blackened out 4x4s on our other place.
Mm-hmm.
With about 20 news channels, Sky, BBC, or the rest of it. But you know, he gave us a time. He came into the youth club, tried to play guitar, made an arse of it, but that's kind of positive things, you know what I mean? That I now think about these things and look back.
But Steve, it's not just about you setting up a youth club, right? And it can be hard to think a big picture sometimes. You see, if 14-year-old Steve McGoldrick had a youth club like the one you ran, do you think your life could have been different for you?
No, but if 14-year-old Steve McGoldrick had a proper dad, maybe things would have been different.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just thinking, just from my experience as being a youth worker, I've been doing it for 17 years as well. There's young people out there who don't have positive role models, but you and your youth workers have provided them with positive role models, so they're leaving Wellhouse or their teenage years with a better understanding of what people can behave like. It's not all negative, it's not all downs, it's not all slaggings or being treated poorly in the house. People can show you love, people can show you kindness and support and inspire you to do better. And you and your youth workers have done that. You know what I mean? It's such a vital, important role that can't be underestimated in a young person's life. I strongly believe that.
But not just a young person's life, I think, in all men's lives. Doesn't matter what age you're. You've got emotions. Some of us have got more emotions than others. Some of us cope better than others. Some of us don't make it and actually follow through with suicide.
Yeah.
But men are not meant to have emotions. You're not meant to cry. You're not meant to say, I'm feeling down.
Uh-huh.
You know, he's a cuddle. Or, you're not meant to do that.
Mm-hmm. So, see, within your youth work role, what was the biggest changes you've seen in your area?
The biggest one was the gang fighting. I created a project called ERCP, the Edinburgh Road Corridor Project. I basically decided that the best thing to do was to grab all these gang fighters, drag them out the house if need be. We were given the powers to do that. They were told by the police, your last chance, either do this project or you go to jail. And when we went to a couple of doors, I heard those words coming out the police, you know what I mean? But what we instantly gave them was respect from the minute we met them, the minute we brought them into the club. Respect. We told them to look at each other. So the guy that he was going to stab the night before, we started just to make them talk to each other. What's right? So why are you different from him?
Mm-hmm.
What do you hate about him? Because he stays 50 yards from yours? Is that it? We've done various other things. We took him on no holidays, but working trips, which involves if they've done good with their sessions during the day, they were taking gorge walking, stuff like that. And over time, these guys became pals, and that was just utterly amazing to see. And if the heads of the Wellhouse gang was starting to make pals with somebody from Ballanark, listen, they're never going to go and hold each other's hand, but they speak to each other and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then that filters down into the younger ones, and the younger ones again. So the next generation isn't going to have the hatred for.
Exactly.
Because these boys have finally said, what the fuck are we fighting for?
Yeah.
A street, a road, a bit of grun. So that worked. In fact, it's now nationwide, that programme, still to this day. And my framework, what I developed, is being used by most youth clubs in Britain, as far as I know.
Superb, man. So, so leading the life you've lived to that point, right? And then you've started doing all this positive stuff for other people. How's your mental state? Even during this stuff, you're doing all this good work, are you still just in a pure chaotic stuff place in your head because of what's happened in your childhood? Or do you get a bit of respite for that?
Are you talking about, like, saying, the now in this?
No, so just when you're doing your youth stuff, so see when you're doing your youth club stuff and you're tackling the gang issue,
right.
when you're doing all that stuff, is that a bit of rest for your head, or are you still in that place mentally, being a wee guy living in that chaos?
I mean, I was working like 70, 80, sometimes 90 hours a week. I didn't really have a lot of time to think about things. But when I did, I used to think, right, God, I've done some good here. Look, give me a break.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a break for a wee while. But I didn't. I used to ask him for it
Mm-hmm.
quite a lot, but he didn't. So while I'm going through all this inner zone stuff and everything else, I've still got all these emotions inside. My daughter, my sister, my dad.
Yeah.
Not having any family, none. And it's just bottled up and bottled up and bottled up. And then every now and then it pops, and when it pops, I need to punish myself
Uh-huh.
for letting out. And that's when I used to cut myself and stuff.
And were you doing that? Were you self-harming even during your youth club days, Stephen? Aye.
No, no. But when the youth club finished and stuff like that, I went to work for Scottish Power and stuff like that. I had more time to think then, and do you know, I could go 6 months and nothing would happen. But then if I saw Wayne being born on the telly, I mean, even my wife knows to this day, if there's a Wayne's programme on, as in babies and stuff like that, she'll discreetly turn it off.
Uh-huh.
And that's something she's had to do for 28 years. I don't think mental health ever goes away. I think you need to, it's like a drug addict or an alcoholic. You'll always be a drug addict or an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to you have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to not drink that day. You have to not take drugs that day. And the same with me, I've got a thing where if I'm having a shitty day, my goal is to make it to midnight that night.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can do that, then I'll let myself away with it.
Right.
And I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up tomorrow morning and I'll try again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You go to the doctors and stuff. I didn't actually go to doctors until just about 8 years ago or something, 7 years ago. Same again, back then you went to a doctor and you tell them you'd mental health problems, the chances are you were fucking sectioned and just put away. But started on antidepressants, blah blah blah, and it's just been like that ever since. Nobody's ever dealt with it. My doctors just give me my pills and say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only until recently, until my real suicide attempt, that I managed to find Men Matter, which, as you know, has changed my life forever.
Can I ask you how you heard about Men Matter?
So it was one day I was in the house and I'd planned a suicide. I knew what I was doing. I took enough of a certain drug that I know would kill me. And I also took drugs to stop me being sick, to stop me puking the pills back up. So this was a serious attempt. Don't really know what happened after that, but I do know that I died on the table in the hospital. And some arsehole brought me back. Which, do you know what, even to this day, I'm not happy with them for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also glad that they did. You know, I mean, I'm still going through this process of healing and getting over it and dealing with everything now. This is one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast, which I've never done in my entire life. And some of the stuff I've said today, I've not spoke to anyone about ever.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's part of that healing process.
It is, mate. It is. See, so what made you contact Men Matter?
Sorry,
And
men matter.
how did you contact them?
Um, so when I got out of hospital, I was visited by a psychiatrist for Glasgow City Council. She had the say so where I was to be let go or where I was to be sectioned. So she came in and spoke to me and says, look, it'll probably take a wee while to get an appointment with a psychologist for some help, and it might take a few weeks for, like, say, a psychiatrist. And, and that's a horrible thing to hear, because you need the help then. You need it right now, no
Yeah.
2 weeks down the line, a month down the line. It says, is there not any, this is her telling me, by the way, is there not any men's mental health groups? A psychiatrist telling me to go and look for one.
I think she'd be telling you where they are.
Unbelievable. I got on my phone and it actually, the wrong one popped up first. It was Ace. Is it Ace Matter?
Is it one in Is it West Calder or something?
Something like that. It's called Men Matter.
Aye.
There's Ace and there's a women's aid attached.
That's right. Yeah.
So I sent them a message and I got nothing back, but something called Men Matter Scotland popped up. And if that hadn't popped up, I can absolutely assure you I'd be dead in it. I can guarantee that. I'll bet my house on that. I think I spoke to Gregor first, then Fraser. And then one day they invited me over here. Now this happened quick. This happened as soon as I contacted them. I was in this centre basically the next day. It was really quick. The guys are brilliant. Gave me a tour. But what they did that was totally different from everybody else was they didn't ask me stupid doctor type questions. It was like, how are you? How are you feeling? I think one of them said, I'm kind of feeling shit now, for whatever reason. But I related. Somebody was actually, and you can see it in Gregor and Fraser's eyes. The boys are brilliant. They're so sincere when they talk to you.
Yeah.
You can see. No, that way you can tell a doctor, well, they're just rhyming it off a fucking shit or whatever. But
Yeah.
the boys don't. They really believe that they can help you.
Yeah.
And I took the chance, and I believed that they could help me. And I'm at a short period of how long have I been here? 10 weeks or something. Look at the difference. I know I'm sitting here tripping my face and nearly green and stuff, but they have changed my life, the boys.
I think
meeting the other guys in here who are all absolutely brilliant.
I think it shows the progress, Stephen, you've made in such a short time that you're able to actually come on a podcast and talk about all the shit you've built up for 30 years, man. Longer.
I'd never thought that in a million years that I'd be doing this. Never. But I know that today that I was kind of building up to the day, but finally I'm getting the strength to talk about it and realise that things are my fault. And
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think within the podcast, mate, you get a wee bit of ownership of your life experience, but you also you can share your story with people who in the past didn't want to listen or can't be arsed listening or don't want to listen. It's out there now. It's in their hands. So you've got people in your family who might not have seen you in years who might watch this and might say, I never knew he felt that way. I never knew this happened. Whatever. Some stuff can come off the back of this on a personal level. But I think it's so important for you to actually articulate it the way you have, which has been brilliant, man. And it allows us to get to know you a wee bit better as a person, because you've not just came and been a service user at Men Matter. You've now transformed that into helping Men Matter. Can you go into a wee bit about what you're doing to support the guys?
Well, back at Amazon, obviously used to do my own funding bids and stuff like that. So I was quite good at it. I know Excel and stuff like that. So far we've come in and I've helped the boys got them 10 grand to start with, from awards for all from the big lottery. We have more or less 99.9% secured a new minibus for the year. We're making a really exciting film with a production company with all the guys. We're getting salaried people in here now. We're going to get loads more workers, and we're just continuing funding. Because unfortunately, this kind of stuff takes money. What the boys are doing is they're doing the work of the government.
So, do you know something? Sorry to interrupt you, Stephen. It's just to give people a wee bit of understanding of this. See, Fraser and Gregor, right? They're volunteered here since day one, right? They've gave up the opportunity to go work other places to provide for their families because they believe in what's happening here, and in the hope there's potential for employment at the back of it. I don't think anybody actually knows out with their wee circle how much work has went into getting this place. Not just the building, but like you're saying, all the policies for health and safety, for volunteers, for PVGs, for GDPR. There's a lot of boring bureaucracy that goes on in the background we all need to deal with, including yourself, me, and the boys. And nobody sees that, and it's good nobody sees that because it's a shite side of volunteering. And I think it's the boys are an absolute credit to their families and themselves that they've given up so much time and dedication to this cause. I just can't praise them enough.
I can't praise them enough either. That word dedication is just a total understatement. I can't even think of a word to describe the two boys. Saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
Saved my life. How many others have they saved? I know myself, they've saved quite a few boys.
Yeah.
And that's boys who are men who are now living with their families.
Yeah, that's
their
right.
families they're not having to get through losing their son, their wife, their dad. It's incredible what the boys do and what they've gave up. You're right about what you say. They've gave up a monstrous amount.
They really have.
For men matter.
Aye. And like you're saying, it's because they believe in the issues around men's mental health, but they're sincere. The sincerity is so true with regards to wanting to just help you. There's no agenda. They're not doing it to tick a box.
No.
And they've not got this medically trained background. They're just guys with lived experience and they understand the struggles life can throw at you.
Yep.
And I think that's what makes it feel as if when you're talking to them, they're truly listening to you.
That was the only reason I stayed. I could have easily just said, no, men's matters, no for me. Mm-hmm. But it was because of what they said and how they said it. They made me believe that, look, we can help you. Trust us. Mm-hmm. And I did trust them. Thankfully, I did.
Brilliant, man. And can you just tell us a wee bit about your favourite session, the Tuesday? Go Wild.
Oh, go Wild, aye. I've been there now 5 or 6 weeks now. And what the boys do, they pick a place in Scotland where up to 20, 25 guys, which they will take to beautiful spots that I've done a lot of travelling in my time. I hadn't seen any of these spots before. Falls of Fallock and the wee secret bit at Balmaha, and so all these guys go down. We make a big cover for ourselves so we don't get soaked. Everybody helps each other. There's nobody bigger than the next person. And that's one of the fantastic bits for me. I'm old and fat and stuff like that, but if I need a wee horn, all the boys will help me get up a rock or whatever, or a couple of other boys as well. We'll make a campfire. We'll do the Wim Hof breathing sessions, which are fantastic. I didn't believe in that to begin with. I do now. Mm-hmm. And for anybody watching, have a look up at Wim Hof breathing sessions, and you'll see what I mean. They give us tasks to do. They give us some team building stuff to do. But most of all, they bring us all together and guys with different backgrounds, but we're all the same. We are all the same, and everybody is treated with total respect. Whatever help you need, all the boys will give you, and every single one of them that go needs a round of applause at the end, because what they've done is they've started to change their life by going to the Go Wild sessions and
Yep.
everyone else that happens in the hub. I know we're kind of a wee bit limited now with COVID, but I mean, once this place gets up and running full, well, I mean, there's thousands of men out there who need a lot more help than I need, and they can't get it yet. So as soon as Men Matter open up fully, I think you guys are going to be extremely busy.
Aye, yeah.
But it's important. It's important to catch all these people before they take the final leap and maybe commit suicide.
Definitely, mate. So, mate, you describe that perfectly, man. It's the place is it's like a haven for guys. It's a structure for guys. It's a positive social interaction for guys. There's food, and this is just for the breakfast club. You know what I mean? And like you're saying, once the COVID disappears, fingers crossed, this place will be open. Hopefully, from 9 till 9. That'd be amazing, man. And then maybe emergency stuff outside of it. But you're right, that's going to take staff, it's going to take volunteers, it's going to take a lot of coordination. But back to you, Stephen. It's really my last question, mate, is what's the future look like for you the now?
Very bright. I wake up in the morning, I come here on a Monday, Wednesday and a Friday to volunteer, to help out with the funding and stuff like that. I wake up on a Monday and I can't wait for Tuesday for the Go Wild. I'm honestly buzzing. And that's something that's not happened to me in a long time that I've actually looked forward.
Yeah.
Like a wee daft Wayne, you know what I mean? Can't wait to go to bed, to go to sleep, to wake up on Tuesday. I love coming here now. My time is getting filled. It'll take a wee while with my mental health, but every day is getting that wee bit better. It just so happened that yesterday I got a letter through the door saying that I'm now top of the waiting list for a psychologist. So, believe it or not, they're 5.5 years late with this.
What?
That's how long I've been waiting to speak to an actual psychologist and get from CBT. It's 5.5 years.
Wow.
So that letter came. So every day, I wake up, I'm positive. I start thinking good things. Demons are still there. I don't think they're going to go away for a while yet, but I'm learning how to cope with slapping them and putting them back in their wee box. I'm ready to speak to them, no other way about it.
Exactly.
I'm definitely speaking to my kids a lot better now. Me and my wife are a lot better now. We've had our ups and downs, but she's really understanding that Men Matter is, and she can see the difference in me every time I come in, that Men Matter means a lot to me, and that it's helping. So if that helps me, that'll help my marriage, it will help everything else. But positive future. I'm half full, not half empty.
Yeah, that makes me happy to hear that, man, because again, I've only known you a few weeks. I never met you till later on because I was in lockdown, quite strict lockdown, because your lassies get asthma. But the boys were raving about you, just about who you are. Dead positive, just chatty and stuff like that. And I was like, good stuff, look forward to meeting this guy. And since I've met you, we've got so much in common. So much for DJing, to flying drones, to youth work. We've got quite a lot in common, and anytime I'm trying to do a task in there, me and you end up gabbing.
I know, and get it all done, I know.
Get nothing done. But mate, and again, I said to you the other day, it feels like you're part of a wee close network of organisers, guys who help run this place, and it feels as if you bring an awful lot to the table. And your experience with being a coordinator in the past has really put our minds at rest with regards to how we can move forward with proper structure and proper guidance, because it's the kind of thing we would stress about it would affect our mental health. It has in the past with accounts and stuff, it really has. But I just want to thank you live on this wee podcast for being so supportive, and the difference you're allowing us to make to other guys is, well, if we can get a minibus, how many more guys can come to Go Wild? You know what I mean? It's a ripple effect, mate. And I said to you last night in our text, since Men Matter started, the stars have aligned, and just wee things have popped up coincidentally that were supposed to happen. And I believe you coming here is one of the things as well, mate. So it's an absolute pleasure having you on board, man.
Oh, listen, it's my pleasure. I get enjoyment from what I do, and seeing the stress coming off of you, Gregor and Fraser and yourself, because I mean, running a big group, big club like this, it's not easy.
No.
People just think you open the door and let people in, and it's not quite as simple as that.
It's really not. It's really no, but we pull together, mate, and this will be a streamlined organisation in no time.
Definitely. Yeah.
Any guys that are out there now, Stephen, who are struggling with whatever reason, what would you like to say to them, just for your experience?
I know guys will have probably heard this a million times before, but take it from me that somebody who's, if you've listened to this podcast, at some point in your life, you're going to have to take a leap of faith. It's only that leap of faith that's going to help. Men Matter Scotland will give you what you need to get better, whatever it takes, no matter what it is, no matter what it is and how long it takes, they will help you. But you have to take that one leap of faith, and it's scary, by the way. Taking that first leap can be scary, but the boys just made me so welcome, and within just a few days of believing, my mind started believing, and I say to where I am now is night and day, absolute night and day. So please take that leap of faith.
Brilliant, mate. That's brilliant.
Anybody can change their life.
I believe that as well, mate. I believe that life can throw curveballs at you, and it can be difficult, and we can't fix it for you, but we can certainly support you in any way we possibly can. Yeah. And we'll be there beside you as you walk through the darkness, and the darkness is less scary if there's somebody there beside you. I'm a strong believer in that. Yeah. And that's what Men Matter. We're the wee person who'll stand beside you in the dark times, and we'll have a laugh in the good times. Stephen, man, I want to thank you for sharing that, mate. I could tell it was emotional for you, and it wasn't hard to tell some of the stories you had to tell, but you reflect on it tonight, I believe, and be so glad you've done it. I believe that, and I think your story, I don't think you're the only person that's kind of lived your life for your generation. I think it's probably more common than we think, and hopefully because you've shared in such good detail, other guys will watch this and just get in touch and realise there's hope, and that's what saves us.
If it helps one guy make contact with Men Matter, then it's worked.
Aye, okay, mate, fantastic. So, viewers, if you would like to get in touch with Men Matter Scotland, I said to start the programme, you can get us on Twitter at Men Scotland, Facebook at Men Matter Scotland. You can email us at menmatter@gmail.com. Or you can come visit us in the hub. Just give us a wee phone on 0141 944 7900. Hope you enjoyed this. I'm sure you will, Stephen. I loved it, mate. Again, getting to know you a bit better. I love getting to know people. I like chatting to people. And it's a pleasure to hear your story, mate. So thanks for sharing that.
Cheers.
Right, my man. All the best, right?
Cheers.
See you later, mate.